Have you ever gone somewhere that made you think to yourself, this place is weird? I love places like that, whether it's in real life or in a video game or in a movie or in a painting or a book. So today, with your permission, I'd like to take you on a little tour of some unremarkable and odd places in Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Are you ready? Put your seatbelts on. It's time to go on a trip. Roll the footage. All right, hello, and welcome to Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, and welcome to the first place that I'd like to show you. Now, if you're not very extremely, highly, expertly familiar with Episode 1 Racer, you might have no idea where I am right now. But if you do know this game, like the back of the skin on the back of your hand, you'll know exactly where we're sitting. This is inside the shortcut tent on Ando Prime. That's right, this planet is called Ando Prime, not Ando Prime. And inside this shortcut tent is an experience like no other in Star Wars, but an experience like many others in the Ringling Brothers Circus. Now this particular shortcut holds a special place in my heart because it's early enough in the game that when I was a kid and I was playing it, I would actually get to this level often enough that I would be able to use it. But it also requires a certain amount of skill, because I don't know if you knew this, but pod racers, they go very quick. So you'll be going this fast, and you'll have to very quickly go into that little tent there to get to this shortcut, right? Wow, the racers are coming by. It's like we're watching the race from inside our home tent on Ando Prime. Here they come, down the track. Your father has taken you to another pod race, and you're watching it. You've rented a tent right on the track, and you're watching it out the front, and it's the most exciting thing you've ever seen in your life. You know, it's interesting sitting here and doing this, because I was expecting to stop in most of these levels and feel a real lifelessness, and in a unexpected way, watching those pods go by makes me feel a little bit immersed, a little bit like I'm on Ando Prime, watching a pod race with my dad. I can't believe I just whipped up that little imaginative story, and now I feel like I'm whisked away to another one of George Lucas's imagination prisons. But really, I think the most interesting thing about this is just, nowhere in a racing game is a place that you're going to regularly stop. But this tiny little hole in particular is not somewhere that you would ever stop, because you're only going to go in it if you're trying to win, because it's a shortcut. And you're always going to fly through it at 600 miles an hour. So stopping and looking around at it, it's also it's a structure that is used by a living, I was going to say a human being, but, we all saw that cutscene. Also, you're driving a vehicle through it, like two gigantic rocket engines going through it, It's like when you bring a motorcycle inside of the houses of GTA 5. You ever do that? Good times. Oh my God, the pod racers are back. Wow, what a blessing. What an honor to get to see Sebulba. Anyway, I like that this tent has like an awning thing, but my tent doesn't. I also like that I'm calling it my tent, as though I bought this real estate here. So yeah, that's my tent, It's my little Ando Prime tent. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you like the vibe of sitting inside of it. All right, are you ready to go to the next place? Let's get on out of here. To the next place. I'm not sure how often you stop to look and see what's going on in the stands of Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, but even by racing game standards, these are pretty abysmal representations of hordes of screaming fans for fan favorite racer Clegg Holdfast. I think that's his name. But I think particularly because this is the first race, and it's a race that you play most often, and if you've seen the movie, you're sort of familiar with the place that this is supposed to be representing. Stopping and letting this little thing sort of settle into you always felt super odd to me, super off-putting. There's a couple of fun details to this environment. Number one, I don't know what it is, but I like this fence. I like looking at this fence. It's so afterthought, It's so not something that ever is supposed to be seen. Pure utility, but I like looking at it. It reminds me of something in the back of my head that I can't think of, but if I do think of it, I'll let you know. Number two, I really appreciate that in this area they took the time to animate. If you look up, you see that thing that looks a bit like the Space Needle that's now coming down? Little elevator situation. That's a platform that in the movie Qui-Gon Jinn stands on with Shmi Skywalker, and they watch Anakin's race from up there. They watch to see if he's going to die, blow up into a million pieces, or if his mother is going to live to see her son grow up to be an adult, which she kind of does. kind of doesn't. But they took the time to animate it coming down as though like the people who are up there need to use the restroom, so they have to let somebody off and then go back up and then come back down and pick them up and go back up, you know. Very annoying sports fan behavior, you know. But it's also just fun to stop and take in some of this geometry, because it's an N64 game originally. I mean, I'm playing it on the Switch just because I determined that it wouldn't alter the experience too much. But there's a lot of interesting little geometry to take in around here. You know, there's some weird tanks over in this direction. I don't know what they're for. Is this where the pods are stored? I don't know. Then in the bottom of the stands, you have all of these holes, which implies that, like, I guess people go in there. I think you see them briefly in the movie. You know, that's where, like, Anakin's friends, other child actors are. So it's fun to get really kind of boots on the ground, down and dirty with these environments that you're normally zooming through at 600 queen bows an hour, or whatever the hell it's measured in Star Wars. Parsecs? No, that's distance. Here comes Sebulba. I told you, you're gonna get blasted if you're not careful. Imagine if you woke up in the morning tomorrow and you were standing here outside the pod racing bays on Tatooine on the day that Anakin beat Sebulba or whatever. Do you think they marked that in the Tatooine calendar? How come Luke never mentioned it in episode 4? That's what I want to know. So yeah, it's a cool space to just sit in. Doesn't really make me feel odd, but it's definitely unremarkable. All right, let's go on to the next one, shall we? All right, so these last two are much more deep cuts from Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. This is a little spot on the, I guess what I'm inferring is a maximum security prison, Ordo 4 or something. This is a race that seems to be on some kind of an asteroid. But for the most part, most of the level does not look like an asteroid. There's only one little bit that does, and that's this bit right here. You shoot out of a hole in the ground, this hole right here. You come out and it shoots you out, whatever. And you end up in this weird little dirty asteroid portion that for some reason is just less finished than the rest of the course. You get a beautiful little glimpse of a nighttime skybox. I suppose it's all nighttime. It's just a space skybox. A very nice asteroid belt going near whatever planet that is. I don't know. You know, I know enough about Star Wars, but not such an excess that I can name every single planet that you see in the background, you know. Kind of got, you know, it's kind of brown. It's kind of got a little green, maybe a little Utapau vibes, but I couldn't tell you. And I like this area because not only is it unique aesthetically to this level, but it also, you get this moon in the background here. Moon, asteroid field, stars. And these things all look very earthly to me. You know, when we explore our solar system, you see the moon and the stars and asteroid. Oh my god, they just started moving way faster. What the heck's that about? That was weird. Oh, it looks like something you would see in a science textbook, you know, like NASA or something, right? None of this is Star Wars specific space imagery. This is stuff that you see when you're on Earth, so I always found that kind of fun. You know, you can see how most of this level, even though it's on an asteroid, is very industrial. It's sort of built up. I mean, it looks kind of like a prison, I suppose, as it's meant to be. I don't know if I ever thought prison when I was playing it as a kid, but it's close enough. Prison with a racetrack. So pay attention here as we pop out of this hole. Watch how quickly this spot is usually over. That's it. Blink and you miss it. Blink and you miss it, but it really does have its own little atmosphere, little outdoorsy, classic asteroid belt, NASA textbook looking atmosphere. You know, you go into first person, stand in the corner, and you can almost feel the oxygen trying to escape your lungs. Now, there's also one other area on this map that makes me feel super weird, mostly because it's just a gigantic room. I don't know what is going on. I don't know if this is like the prison yard or what, but for about half a second, there's just a gigantic room. And all you do is go straight through it, of course, because you're trying to make the best lap time so you can get the new lap record. Like everything weird in this game, it's over in a flash. But boy, really big room. It's a really big room with two really big towers. I mean, they must be prison towers, right? You could practically have a whole race just going in circles around this room. It's that big. You know, we looked at Battlefront 2 sort of recently. You know, we did Skybox and we did an Odd and Unremarkable. I think this game does a way worse job of approximating the environments that you're allegedly racing through than those games do. You know, Battlefront, of course, newer than this, so they had a little more to work with. But man, at times this really does just feel like random shapes, random blocks, and the only thing that justifies it as, you know, in this case a prison, is the texture that's put onto it, you know? And they don't even do a great job of like covering up the seams. You can see how the texture over this doorway is just perfectly repeated and then with a hole cut out of it. And that wasn't abnormal on the N64. But in terms of adding details to that specific paneling to make it more believable as an entrance. Again, it's not important. I'm not complaining. This is a racing game where you're going 7,000 miles an hour. So it's inconsequential for the most part. Okay, sure, we can blow up. But it's just interesting. And also, what is going on here? This room has quite the vibes. Big, giant, large Hadron Collider looking thing. I am the particle in the Hadron Collider. All right, I need to stop talking about this level because this level, I mean, it's got all sorts of things that we can go into. Go drive around it yourself for once. I mean, look at this. What's going on here? What's this giant space for? You think I can go up these? No, this is like where they would put El Chapo if he was in Star Wars. But he's not. But I guess in that sense, it makes sense that the vibes would be a little weird, a little industrial, a little bit intimidating. They don't want people to feel too comfortable after they've committed some sort of heinous act of spice smuggling or whatever. Anyway, let's go on to the last place, shall we? We've been on this asteroid crap hole long enough. You know, everybody knows that I'm a sucker for a good coastline. Everyone knows I'm a sucker for a good skybox. And most people know I'm a sucker for a good tree wall. This little section on, I can't remember what this planet's called, Baroondah or something like that. This little section has all of those things. And also just feels unremarkable and odd in and of itself. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. But my favorite reason is the water breaking against shore animation that you see beneath us now. It is very crude, and it doesn't need to be not crude. Again, I want to stress that when I talk about how bad some of this stuff looks up close, I'm not blaming the game. I get it. It doesn't matter. And in many ways, I actually mean it as a compliment because I like the uncanniness of it. But this little 4-frame animation of the water hitting over the beach it really does it for me. The existence of these giant stone heads is also very good. I think that's adding to the atmosphere for me as well, unquestionably. You know, this feels more like a place you would visit with your family on vacation than a place that you would cruise through at 500 miles an hour in the Star Wars universe. The skybox definitely adds a lot too, and I do like this tree wall. Sorry if I'm gonna make you barf by piloting my thing all the way up to this tree wall, but it's a good tree wall, for sure. And my favorite portion of this beach is right when you pull out into this area of the level. If you go over to the left, there's like just a tiny little hidden beach next to what looks like some sort of breaker wall in front of this volcano. And this, when you go here, just really feels like stepping away. You know, stepping away from the hullabaloo of all this pod racing business. It's dangerous. You know, your family's been trying to tell you that for years. Maybe you ought to give it up. Take your winnings and go live on a beach somewhere. A creepy, creepy beach. I feel like for anyone who played Episode 1 Racer beyond just sort of the beginning stages, you know, people who did more than just rent it, this level always was iconic. Both because of the aesthetics, it's very different from everything else that came before it in the game, but also the racer you unlock is a little rat dude whose engines are behind his pod, and his pod is incredibly fast. Stick around to the end of the video after the credits, and I'll show you how fast his pod is if you want to see. His name is Neva Key. He's a little mouse. Yeah, so that's that. That's my probably my personal favorite from all of these is this beach. It's got everything that I love about a little space just to sit and look at for a minute. So that is the last stop on our tour. Thank you so much for joining us. And now I'm gonna throw it back to myself, my own face, to end this video and say all the things that I'm supposed to say. That was a very interesting little experiment. You know, it's a very sparse game. There's not a lot going on in the backgrounds of that game. Not a lot of extra work put in. So the places that come together that are weird are a little bit extra eerie, which is very typical of an N64 game. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. It is over. You can leave if you want. If you enjoyed it, feel free to post a comment down below that said, hey, I like this video. Please make more videos like this. That will tell me that I should keep making videos like this as opposed to videos that you will not like, because I am here to serve you. If you want to be here to serve me, you can go to patreon.com/any_Austin. If you subscribe on Patreon, you do have access to several different benefits. We also have merchandise. I'm not wearing any at the moment, but there is merchandise that'll be up on the screen right now. And if you don't want to spend any money to support this channel, one of the biggest things you can do is just immediately watch another one of my videos right now. That's it. I'm done. There's only one more thing for me to say to you today. Guess what? In my free time, I make a lot of music. I use that music in all my videos. So today, I'm going to play us out with one of those songs. Please enjoy the song today. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Wow, I can see outside. Bonus content. Check this out. I can see outside. See, looking for these odd and unremarkable spaces, you know? It's like being a truffle pig. You know, you gotta have instincts for it. This should make for a good thumbnail, I hope. Suppose you gotta wonder if these tents are like spectator tents or if this is a village. Here he is, neighbor key. I was just... Okay, I promised I would show you a demonstration of how fast this little mouse is. Here's the demonstration. In 3, 2, 1, go!